When it comes to extreme sports games, many people credit Tony Hawk's Pro Skater to be one of the first. I know there were probably a few games that were created before THPS, but I can't think of any at the moment and prefer not to spend all day hunting through the mass jungle known as the internet to find out what they were called and what they were about. Anyway, usually when people talk about THPS, they talk about the PSX version, or even on occasion an N64 version. Me personally, I played them both but personally own the N64 cart. Not too much of a difference. But that's not what this review is about. Instead, I will be talking about the Game Boy Color port of THPS. It's really a sad little game. I mean, let's be realistic here. You're going from this to this. How could you possibly convert all that 3D fun into a little portable game? Well, let's discuss that, shall we? First off, the game has a few different play modes. You have access to a half-pipe contest, a one-on-one race, and a tournament mode. When choosing one of these modes, you are able to select one of many skaters. Interestingly, they were able to keep all the skaters from the original game, but each of them have slightly varied stats. Strangely, Tony Hawk, the game's poster man, has great speed but atrocious acceleration. You'd think that they would give him the best stats of the game, but I guess Activision and Natsume decided to keep everything fair. Props to them. If only it really mattered, though. But let me not jump ahead of myself. I'm going to start with the half-pipe. You start on one end and have to skate to the other, leap into the air, and pull off some tricks. For those that have played the original games, this is what is closest to the 3D Brothers. Only problem with it is that there's only 3 different cities, and each only contains one half-pipe. In addition to this, the amount of tricks you can do is extremely limited. I get it, there's only really 2 available buttons on the Game Boy, but each character has the same trick set. There's no differentiating factors between the various skaters other than the stats. There's also no real goal to this mode, other than to get a high score. Yet the game fails to save any score, so really, what's the point? So you play the half-pipe mode a few times, get bored with it, then move on. Next up you have the tournament and one-on-one race modes. I'm going to group them together because there's very little that is different. Gameplay-wise, they're essentially the same thing. The only difference is that in tournament mode, you have to battle several different skaters, whereas one-on-one is quite clearly a mano-a-mano battle. One-on-one mode is also a one-race affair, whereas tournament mode is a gauntlet of 5 different races. Yes, you're hearing me right. They're just races. You pick a skater and then battle up a vertical stage, trying to get more points than your opponents. When you cross the finish line, you receive points on any tapes you've picked up, your finishing position, and the tricks you've performed. In addition, you can pick up small boosts that are laying around, which are pretty much required if you want to get first and you have a slower skater. You can bail as many times as you want, and the only penalty is the time it takes for you to get back on your board. The opposing skaters love to bump into your character and knock them off balance, so get used to it. You can do the same to them, but it doesn't seem to work as easily as the AI would like you to believe. Which reminds me, the AI is just unforgiving. No matter how much of a lead you have on them, one tiny fraction of a mistake, and you'll see your gold medal drop into a sewer. Catching up is much easier than staying ahead though, but that's also not saying that it's simple. Your character starts off painfully slow, and if you don't have any speed boosts remaining, it's going to be a while before you're moving at any sort of respectable speed. Yeah, this might be Tony Hawk's game, but don't choose him for this mode. In addition to skating around, pushing people over and collecting bonus VHS tapes, you can jump on the ledges and rails to get bonus points by grinding. If you can constantly jump around, you can rack up some decent trick points, but the real bonus comes in ramp tricks. Here's where the game starts to show how bad it really is. Unlike in half-pipe mode, where you get about 8 tricks or so, in tournament and race mode, you get access to about 4 tricks. Lame. In order to do them, you hit a ramp, then hit a direction in B. Succeed and you're treated to a still shot of a generic skater performing the trick. Fail, and nothing happens. Depending on what trick you perform, you'll obtain points that get tallied to your race score. I could potentially overlook the lack of variety in this if the game would have showed a bit of animation during the racing scene, instead of showing a stupid little graphic that ruins the flow of the game. They did in half-pipe mode, so why not in this one? What's just as awesome is when you perform a trick and get the stupid little visual, the game will resume with the music track reset. That's right, every time you perform a trick that requires a ramp and a pretty little picture, the music starts over. That means that in congested areas with a ton of ramps, you'll be hearing the same 3 seconds of music over and fucking over. Why is this necessary? And why couldn't the music just have kept going instead of forcing you to listen to the shitty little excuse they call an audience. I'm pretty sure that if a skater performs the same trick over and over, the audience isn't gonna cheer. They're gonna fucking boo! Put all this together and you just get a massive, boring mess. Actually, I'd lie. It's not a massive, boring mess. It's a short, boring turtlet. The tournament mode can be completed in about 10 minutes, and each half-pipe mode is only about 60 seconds long. If you want to do the one-on-one mode, that's probably about another 10 minutes, since it's the same races as tournament mode. So let's just say that this whole game is completable in about half an hour. I don't know about you, but when I had the Game Boy out, most of the time it was longer road trip than 30 minutes. So this oftentimes didn't put a dent in it. And I remember not bothering with the race mode because, well, it's the same fucking thing as tournament mode, just without the extra replayability. Oh wait, did I say replayability? There is none. This game will keep your attention for about 15 minutes before you realize you can play something a hell of a lot more entertaining. Oh, and get this. For those who have really short road trips that you may have to stop the tournament mode early on, there's a password system. But check this out. Look at the length of this password! If you had to stop playing early, you could probably get through the whole tournament mode quicker than the time it would take to input this monstrosity. Suffice to say, don't bother playing this game. It's a short mess that doesn't even warrant the time it would take for you to turn it on. Don't get me wrong, it's not the worst game I've ever played, or even one that's broken. It's just boring. Plain simple. And for that, save your frickin' time. Final score? 5 out of 10. This is Reaper. Check me out on Facebook, facebook.com/ReaperReviews. Happy fragging.